Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Taskmaster is Wonderful. I'm Eric, and today I'm talking about Taskmaster Australia, Season 1, Episode 7, The Energy of a Sickly Child. Once again, our Taskmaster is Tom Gleeson, his assistant is Tom Cashman, and the contestants are Danielle Walker, Jimmy Rees, Julia Morris, Luke McGregor, and Nina Oyama. This episode's title, The Energy of a Sickly Child, comes from Nina. Before we get into the tasks, let's take a closer look at the Taskmaster himself, Tom Gleeson. Thomas Francis Gleeson was born June 2nd, 1974 in Gunnedah, New South Wales, Australia. His stand-up shows have been nominated for and won several awards, including Best Comedy at the Adelaide Fringe 2020, with his show Lighten Up. He is also the host of Hard Quiz, which began in 2016 and is currently in its 8th season. So we start this episode with the prize task, the most surprising thing to bring to a barbecue. I tried to think of what I might bring, and the best I could come up with was some antique drinking glasses. Because why would you bring that? They're totally going to get broken. But we had Jimmy bring in a barbecue, a total power move to bring a barbecue to a barbecue, as if to say, you're not good at barbecue. Nina brought in a plate of hair, very similar to last week when Luke brought in a plate of his red hair, which were definitely pubes. And Nina said, that's why I also brought pubes. They're very luscious. Luke brought in some protection from the sun in the form of a butt face mask. Tom Gleeson gave him a lot of crap, saying that it didn't look very different from his regular face. Julia brought in a chocolate Taskmaster envelope. I thought this was really good. Not surprising. I still would have given it the 1 points that she got. But I've been surprised that she brought in such a cool thing. Like, oh, this is it's a good surprise. Like getting a Nintendo 64 at Christmas. And then Danielle, she brought in a whole bondage outfit with a plague doctor mask and is very, very creepy. And kind of awesome. But the points I would have given were 1 point to Julia, 2 to Jimmy, 3 to Luke, 4 to Danielle, and 5 to Nina. But the Taskmaster disagreed. He gave Julia just 1 point. I agree with that. Yeah, he gave Luke 2 points, not that far off. He gave Danielle 3 points, I guess also not far off. He gave Nina 4 points, but then he gave Jimmy 5 points. Our first film task of the episode is a team task. I love these team tasks. The improv troupe are so excited for this one because they know what's coming up. In the lab, there's a teddy bear on a pillow who is holding a task. The task is make a dream come true. Best dream wins. You have 30 minutes. So both teams kind of come up with the same conclusion. Let's make Tom's dream come true. The dream team we see first, they ask Tom if he has a dream that he wants made true. Oh, the dream team is Danielle and Julia. And the other team I call the improv troupe is Jimmy, Nina, and Luke. So the dream team asked Tom about any dreams he had, and he said, well, he had a couple of them when he was a kid, and then describes having a remote control fly that he could use to spy on his friends. They really roll with the creepy aspect of that. Julia is going to be filmed by this robotic fly while she's sleeping, and so she hops up on the table. She takes off her bra again. I feel like she's just looking for excuses to take off her bra at this point. Danielle puppets the fly. It's like hanging on a string off of a stick. And they get this close up of Julia drooling in her sleep. We also see the fly going through the house. Danielle is kissing a photo of Tom Gleeson, saying how much she loves him. Julia's bra is on the ground, and then we get the fly close up of Julia dreaming about the Taskmaster. Also, they forgot to do their dance. Previously, they did not get any extra points for doing the dance, but because they forgot to do it, they were deducted 1 point each. So it did end up having an effect after all. The improv troupe, they start to plan, and they're like whispering to each other, and Tom looks a little bit confused, and they're like, no, stop listening. Actually, leave. Get out of here. And they end up planning a whole a set of tasks for Tom to do, because they thought it would be a dream come true for him to be able to do what they get to do. They also have the plan to have his parents say that they're proud of him. So that gets integrated into the final of the 3 tasks. I mean, really, this is the ultimate task within a task for Luke. So the first task is become the Taskmaster. There's a bald cap and a tie, and so he gets dressed up in it, and then he role plays and basically says, I have no respect for my assistant. Then he goes outside to do the next task. It's put the object from the giraffe in the buckets. The object is a teddy bear, and he tries to throw it in there, but then he's interrupted by geese, but they're ducks. And he asks, wait, is this part of it? How did you make this happen? He's a little bit weary of the ducks, but he does get the teddy bear into the bucket. And then the next task is back in the lab. And the task is come into the lab and make your parents proud. It's hard to tell, but the 2 people in there who are his parents are actually Jimmy and Luke, wearing some wigs. They say that they love him and that they're so proud of him that he's doing the best job as the Taskmaster. He goes, well, no, I'm the Taskmaster's assistant. They're disgusted, and the whole thing goes off the rails. I don't think that part of it necessarily was a good dream come true. But then they end the whole thing with a climactic high five with the whole freeze frame and everything. It was fantastic. I really, really liked that Danielle was annoyed that they kept calling them geese because they were ducks. It's like, I'm telling you for the last time, Nina, those are ducks. When trying to decide between the 2 teams, Tom Cashman asked the improv troupe how many points that they would have given him for his tasks. And at first, Nina and Luke say 5, but then Jimmy says, no, wait, 6. And Tom Cashman's mind is blown. That's puts it over the top for him that it is the best of the 2 dreams. And so the improv troupe is rewarded with 5 points, and the dream team is rewarded with 4 points each, except they get a point deducted. So they actually get 3 points for this task because they forgot to do their dance at the end. Next film task. The task is delivered by a drone parachute drop. Do the most incredible once-in-a-lifetime thing. You must never have done it before and never do it again. You have 30 minutes. I would try to jump over fire into the lake, maybe, or do some type of fire stunt with all of that gear if that was able to get procured. I think probably the first version of that would be the most likely. And that is almost what Luke did, but he ended up doing something else and no fire involved. But we'll get to that. He's saved for last. Jimmy becomes Ute Man. He is born out of the passenger seat of the Ute, which now I know is short for utility vehicle. And in the United States, we just call them trucks or like pickup trucks. But I guess they can also be like not truck shaped. Like they could be like a regular car, except with a bed in the back. I think one of the only ones that's not like an actual truck that you would call a ute here in the United States is the El Camino. It looks like a muscle car, but it does have that open bed in the back. Anyway, after he's born out of the ute, Tom Cashman cuts the umbilical cord that's like just a bunch of like ribbon by biting it. Pretty gross. Jimmy then goes over to the caravan and moves it very slightly. He had set a banana on the ground as a measuring device so that they could see where it started and where it ended up. Is determined it was not very incredible, but maybe it was once in a lifetime, except that he did it again another 4 times within like 3 minutes. So he is disqualified. Nina decides to make a Rube Goldberg machine, which she has to help along most of the way for it to complete, and it doesn't even do what it was meant to do. Julia's initial thoughts was a wet t-shirt contest, and then she thinks, oh, I should do some doughies when you fang a car in a circle. Donuts. Tom Cashman was confused by the word doughies. Tom was a little bit confused when she said doughies, so it doesn't seem to be a widespread slang term across all of Australia. She ends up doing the largest and slowest donuts ever. At the end of her run, the brakes weren't working, and then she runs over a tiny tree. Rest in peace, tiny tree. Danielle's initial thought was to rob the house next door. But her next idea was to make a pool in the back of the utes and have a bubble bath. So she does that, and Tom is in there with her, and she has a water gun, and she keeps blasting with it, and then she also fills a pool noodle with water and then blows water out of that at Tom as well. Tom could have tried doing that one. I mean, he also could have tried the water gun thing if she just, handed him that water gun. She's like, I wish we had 2 of these because you'd love this. Like, you could let him borrow it. And then we have Luke. He wants to jump in the lake. And he wants to jump in the lake with Tom because I'll never jump in a lake holding hands with you again. So they get into swimming gear with their water wings on. And Luke, right before they're about to do it, he looks up possible pathogens from jumping into a lake. And he gets really worried about all the bacteria and stuff that could go up his butt. So instead, he asks Tom Cashman, want to just make out instead? And Tom agrees to it. Luke dips him like a romantic film and gives him a kiss. And then they paint each other. They show each other their paintings. The painting of Tom is all right, and the painting of Luke is of him in the lake saying like, my poor butt, or something like that. And he says that this is an alternate universe where you did jump into the lake. So once again, Luke has created the task within the task of them painting the portraits of each other, because just the kiss, I think, would have been plenty for the once in a lifetime thing. My scores, I would have disqualified Jimmy. I would have given 2 points to Nina, 3 to Julia, 4 to Danielle, and 5 to Luke. But the Taskmaster scores were 0 to Jimmy, 2 to Nina, 3 to Luke, 4 to Danielle, and 5 to Julia. I just feel like Julia is very likely to just accidentally do that at some point, even if she's just driving around looking for a parking space. The next task, all the contestants are equipped with their helmet cams. This is going to be a big old searching task, it seems like. The task is deliver this pizza to Tom. The fewest steps wins. This is kind of similar to Series 3 of the UK series, get to the microwave in as few steps as possible, but their goal is much further away, and there is the trick that who they think is Tom across the lake is actually a decoy. So there's a lot more opportunity to mess up and not have a direct path to their goal. So first we see Danielle. She lays down in some goose poo. She crawls to the boat. She then sits on the pizza that's on the tricycle's seat, and then she stuffs it into her shirt. She scoots up the stairs to the study where she finally finds Tom. She also had to be pulled out from the lake because her entire lower body is drenched. She has a total of 48 steps. Jimmy takes a trike to the boat, and then he discovers that it is not Tom Cashman. He then crawls and bikes and finally finds Tom, and he has a total of 50 steps. Very good. How close those two are is very impressive. Then Julia, she goes to deliver to non-Tom, even though she knows that he isn't Tom. She then just walks around a bit. And then eventually sets a stack of the slices of pizza on the table. She took an average of 1 step every 2 seconds, 961 steps. Luke starts out just by walking, and then he stacks the pizza onto an RC car. He doesn't have his glasses on, so he doesn't figure out that it's a false Tom Cashman until he gets all the way over there. He makes another task within a task by trying to pull the tablecloth off of the table without disrupting the stuff that's on it. He fails at that. The tablecloth gets wrapped up around the wheel of the tricycle, and then he utilizes that tablecloth to hold all of the pizza in a little bundle. He eventually does find Tom with a total of 902 steps. Finally, we see Nina, who seems to do really well at first. She immediately identifies the decoy Tom and says, "All right, well, I got to get over to the house then." She just puts one slice of pizza on the RC car. She hops like a kangaroo, which is a great idea because hopping and jumping is not stepping. She goes inside, but does not go upstairs. She goes back to the lake thinking it was a double bluff. She frisbees the pizza to him from the boat, and then she just walks away like she nailed it. But then she goes into the study, and there's Tom. He's like, "Oh no, I'll be right back." Luckily, the slice of pizza that was on the RC car was just dropped right outside of the house, so she doesn't have to go all the way back to the lake to get it. But it's too late. Her casual after task walking counted up so many more steps for a total of 505. Tom says that if she had gone upstairs at that point, she was at only 37 steps, and she very well could have won the task. So the scores ended up as Julia with 1 point, Luke with 2, Nina with 3, Jimmy with 4, and Danielle with 5. Then we have the live task. First part, pick a biscuit. Second part, in time with the music, dunk and undunk your biscuit in your tea and coffee. At any time, you may surrender by placing your biscuit on the plate. If your biscuit breaks, you are disqualified. Last fully intact biscuit to be surrendered wins. So there are 5 different kinds of biscuits, some much hardier than others. So there's a surprisingly strategic game here. Julia is the first to surrender, but she breaks it as she sets it down. Nina surrenders next. Then Luke's breaks and Danielle's crumbles, and Jimmy is the last one to surrender. He successfully sets his biscuits on the plate. So Julia, Luke, and Danielle are disqualified, 0 points for each of them. Nina gets 4 points and Jimmy gets 5. After Danielle's crumbled, she realized, oh, you surrender it so that it doesn't crumble. I thought you were all just weak. So before the live task, there is only 5 points separating everybody. So it was almost anyone's game. It would have been impossible for Julia to win, but she could have tied. Julia ended up with 10 points, Luke with 12, Danielle with 15, Nina with 18, and Jimmy with 19 points. Jimmy is the winner of all of the surprising things to bring to a barbecue. I love this episode, and this aspect of it I didn't dislike, but I hope that it is just a special thing about this episode is that it was very Tom Cashman centric. And it's not that any of it was really designed to be that way. It just kind of happened to go that way with the dreams and the once in a lifetime things. So I guess it's more of a happy accident, or that they did see that because these tasks did involve Tom a lot, that they did put them all together. I mean, even the episode's title is about Tom. After Tom Gleeson says, well, why didn't you go to a children's hospital and make some sick kids' dreams come true? And Nina says, well, in our defense, Tom has the energy of a sickly child, and then does this very mean impression of him holding his iPad. Another really great moment was the improv troupe's entrance into the lab for the team task. That they just peek through the curtain, their heads stacked up in a column. Very funny. Like I don't know how many more team tasks we have left for the season. I hope there's at least 2 more. Because they're just so much fun. I think they're my favorite team in all of Taskmaster history. There are so many other moments that I didn't even touch upon. Oh man, this season has just been on this upward trajectory of greatness, and I can't wait to see what happens next. Let me know what your favorite moments from this episode are by tweeting me at TIW Podcast. Go to TIWpodcast.com for more episodes. If you enjoyed this episode or anything else on the site, please tell some friends. Subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. And I'll see you next time here on Taskmaster is Wonderful Podcast. Bye.